Good morning. Happy Friday, February 10th. I'm Kat, by the way, if we haven't met, with Ta-Da by Kat, Next Level Staging and Design, where we are choosing to live by design. And we wanted to do this segment, being the month of love, at least from a commercial standpoint. We believe, that love is always 24 by 7. That really, that's like the Beatles said, love is all there is. But we are going to share today something that we love, Jeff and I. He's doing some technical stuff right now, so we can stream on several sites. But we love reading and have for, probably for me, over 50 years. So it was difficult for me to come up with just a few, 5 or 10 life-changing books to share with you, because there's been so many. So this is not all inclusive, but I hope that by us sharing that, maybe you're inspired to pick up a book, go on Amazon, order a book and be inspired. And who knows, maybe it'll be life-changing for you. So again, I am Kat Filinos with Ta-Da by Kat, and Jeffrey Wong, my loving husband and business partner, is joining us today. And we are going to share, we both obviously have our own reading list. And I'm going to start while he's doing the technical side with the first book on my list. And by the way, if you're just tuning in right now, stay tuned because we're going to give away a book. There's a little action item for you to do to win that book. But when I was checking my library, some of the books I still have, some of them I don't, but I happen to have 2 because I have given this book away as a gift. So if you'd like the chance to win a book, stay tuned. Share this with someone who you think could appreciate a book as a gift. So my number one book that came to my mind, excuse me, in my journey, my self-actualization, journey to enlightenment. I don't think we ever really arrive there, but it's a journey. It's a constant journey in this platform, in this matrix that we live in, illusion, dream, reality, whatever it is. And that is Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positivity. The power of positive thinking. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It's the power of positive thinking. And that was really integral for me. I think I was probably, excuse me, in my 20s when I picked up the book. It's not a very thick book, very poignant. And you'll find, at least in my books, and I'm sure probably in Jeff's as well, that there's a thread and a commonality in many books to the roads to enlightenment, the road to improving ourselves to be a better self, or to have a spark of creativity, or to learn something. And of course, you can see the guitars and the musical in the background of Jeffrey. I believe there's probably a guitar book on his list. But The Power of Positive Thinking was integral for me because it was, excuse me, one of many that I picked up that really opened that door to that we can change our thoughts and change our life through the power of positive thinking and changing our thought. So Jeff, on that, are you ready to share one of your top life-changing books? And you wanted to give a disclaimer, I think, to our audience about this segment.
Yeah. See, there's my... Did you hear that?
Oh,
all right.
I like it.
Yeah, books that changes lives. Let's just, get deep and dive into this. But I do want to say,
turn your volume up just a little, Jeff.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Turn your volume up just a little.
I really don't have the luxury of turning anything
up.
Oh,
it's mine. Okay, never mind. It's by me. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now let me get my thought what I just said. Okay, So let's just start with my disclaimer is actually that books such as the Bible and religious based or anything that's profound in that realm, we're not adding that into it. Just the fact that it was designed to become life changing type of book. So when we have that, we don't really want that's a no brainer. So with that, we'll start with the books that impacted me personally.
Okay, so what you're saying, just to recap our audience, we know that there's many religious books, and particularly the Bible, that hands down are life changing. So we're not, we could do like 5 segments or more to go over the Bible. So we're not including the Bible. So
Right.
what's the first one you want to share on your list?
Okay, so on my list, the first one that I'm going to bring up, I'm going to see if we can see this.
There we go.
It's Tony Robbins' Personal Power.
Tony Robbins.
So I'll tell a real quick brief story about this. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, when Tony was doing these late night infomercials about personal powers and so forth. And then, being a musician, I'm always up like 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes 4, whatnots. And I saw this over and over and over and over and over. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, what is this all about? And I went out and bought the book, Personal Power, and read through it several times. I was very enlightened on positive thinking. So one takeaway from that I definitely say that Tony Robbins changed my perspective on decision-making, on important decision-making moments. And what that actually comes from is, are you prepared to make that decision now? Are you ready to, be confident with the decision you're making? And what we learned is that decision, even though it seems like you just made it on the instant, it's not. It's research, and it is the homework, it is the understanding, the research, everything that leads up to it. And then that decisive moment is definitely a fraction of a second. But do keep in mind that, a lot of people tend to be afraid or reticent in regards to wanting to make a life-changing decision. They ham and haw and end up not getting anything done. That's procrastination. And definitely Tony talks about why. And it's because of we either want pleasure or we want to avoid pain. So a lot of these fundamental principles of our psyche that I grew up and nobody ever taught me, I learned from Tony Robbins. So thank you, Tony Robbins, on Personal Power. And then, of course, with that, did the 30-day program and on and on and on. And it opened up a bigger rabbit hole for me to go to in regards to personal.
It does. It's like I like how you put that, because it's like opening up a door,
Yep.
and that's the thing. Most of us were not taught the fundamentals of, of the power that we hold within to create the best life that we can,
Right.
From relationships to, just personal dynamics and the whole human experience. We're really not taught that. We're just on this, do this, don't do that, conforming to other people's rules and ideas and ideologies and what's right and what's wrong and all of that. So it is like a door, like the door is opened and there's a stream of light that comes in. I wanted to piggyback on that, Jeff, because didn't we, the first year we got married, and we're going to celebrate 25 years in November, didn't we do the audio tape Personal Power together? Or was that
Not really, no. We bought the system and you did your schedule, I did my schedule.
No, we did it together. I remember us doing it
anyway
together. Okay.
I know that
but we did. We bought an audio thing, and we did do it together. We listened to it every night for like 10 days. And
okay, that was a different series.
That was a different.
We're talking about 30-day program had a different setup, and it was an individual goals. Then there was a 2-day program or maybe a couple of day program that it was like a what do they call it? The add-on that you can get from the bookstore prior to investing hundreds of dollars into
this was an audio, and it really meant a lot to me because we did it together, and together learned tools on how to change your dynamic. All couples have to go through conflict resolution and learning the simple dynamics of changing your body dynamics and different things like that. Was really powerful. So the second one, actually, both the second book is on, and we created our list separately. We both have Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. There we go. Oh, you know what? I think I even have an older version. Let me see your version. Look at my version. Mine is a physical book.
That's actually my book.
and look at the picture. No, I don't think it is. Anyway, who knows? Yours, mine. A Return to Love. I know some people used to say I looked like her when I had darker hair. We're about the same age.
When we first met, you probably did look more like her then.
With the dark hair, yeah. Reflections on the principles of A Course in Miracles. So anyone who doesn't know Marianne Williamson, most of her work is based on an interpretation of a book called A Course in Miracles. So, Jeff, I'm going to let you dialogue on the importance of this book.
Okay, in regards to Marianne Williamson's Return to Love, it was a huge book for me because it came at a time when I was just leaving the dark side of the Force, if you will. And I went through a training, not training, but a personal growth seminar with Barbara DeAngelis, Making Love Works. And it just changed my entire being and experience of rebirth. So with that being said, I've been in the book club for a year, and I would get these books, right? And they would send a book of the month and so forth. And that book was in my so-called monthly mailings, and I just looked at it and I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. I'm going to put it on the shelf. And needless to say, after the so-called life-changing experience that I've had, I had an opportunity, kind of just lock myself away in the Hollywood Hills and kind of just start reading books and try to gather myself before I start my next level of what I'm going to do in my life. And that book jumped at me, literally said, this is the time to read me. And I spent probably a day and a half, finished the book, and it just filled me up in regards to that you're not alone. You are loved. You are well loved. You just have to know and remember you are well loved. And there's a lot of touches in that book that made me feel cared for, made me feel that I'm not alone here, made me feel that I'm ready. And there's a whole group, a whole force that is light of love that is with me. So I definitely felt that the Return to Love was a literal way for me, a path that returned to love. And, down for many years, and we started looking at her posts and whatnot and became a big fan of hers. But that was my entry to Marianne Williamson's world, and I'm so grateful for her. And she was here in Houston and lived in Houston a long time ago.
Well, and you and I had the benefit of seeing her in person.
Yeah.
In Houston. Yeah. Just a wonderful, insightful, thought thinker, and of course she's authored many books and spreads her word all over the world. Really, we were fortunate enough to see her here. Awesome, yes, and that's just one of. I have several of her books, but I think that was the most thought-provoking one was The Return to Love. So. I'm going to touch on my number 3, and then you can go with the next one after yours. This one is really short. Change your thoughts, change your life by, may he rest in peace, Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer was probably, he was probably the most viewed and read of when I was during my early seeking days. And excuse me, and his message, although many of these gurus, and they all, if you read them, they all have similar magic and thought process of how to live a better life, but they just deliver it in their own unique magical way. And Wayne Dyer had a way of doing that in that simple phrase, change your thoughts, change your life. It was just so simple and rung so true, and still just amazes me at the power of thought I tell my 11-year-old granddaughter, the most important conversation that you'll ever have is the conversation in your head. We have something like 60 to 65,000 thoughts a day. So we can harness some of those very intentional, thoughtful, positive thoughts to change our life. It's just incredible. I've seen it manifest in my own life. I know Jeff has. It's just amazing when you connect with Source, God, and realize that you are the co-creator. That God is within you, not out here sitting on some cloud. That God, you are a part of God, and that you are co-creating with God. It starts with the thought. So, small book, powerful message from Wayne Dyer. Thank you, Wayne Dyer, for all of your work. Jeffrey, your turn.
Okay, so the third one on my list is the person that I just spoke previously on the workshop is Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. Barbara DeAngelis was a so-called radio psychologist, right? So she got a lot of flack because she was married to John Gray, Men's from Mars, Women's from Venus, and they got a divorce. And yes, she's counseling on relationship and so forth. And what I've learned from that experience is you can be a great educator. You have all the knowledge and intent, but when it comes to yourself, sometimes it's the hardest obstacle to hurdle. So, it's just no different than a great coach may not have been the best ball player.
Right.
So just keep that in mind when I say this. This book, Are You the One for Me? The reason why I chose this one. And, I've read a lot of her books, you can imagine. This is the quintessential book on how to find how your relationships wasn't working before, and what do you need to look for to get your relationship the way it should be.
And just a note here, he read this before we met.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually read this book right around the same time when I read Marianne Wilson's book. So it really opened up my eyes regards to relationship. And basically what it does is this is going to give you a lot of checklist type of ideas regards to how your paradigm was set and how much of that junk that you carried from your childhood that does not serve you when you're finding your perfect mate.
Right. And why, if you're finding yourself being attracted to, or in a relationship and the same, whether it's mental abuse, physical abuse, and or other things that are not serving you, and you're
right.
like, why me? Why do I keep? And this book, I think, is integral. And so you identify the patterns and go, okay, number one, what happens is it's the familiar past. So we attract the familiar past instead of creating, a more optimal future. So this gets you, you first have to identify it. What am I doing? What am I doing, while I'm asleep? I'm just, attracting because it's comfortable, but that's not where you want to be. So,
well, and I'll add this to it. It's just that, we all have been in relationships that we can't figure out why it didn't work out. Okay. And basically, straight up, there's never been rules or guidelines. There's never been any kind of do's and don'ts discussed in depth.
Handbook, yeah.
Now, you and I have been married 25 years. We did this right from the gate of what are not allowed, what is allowed, and what we're doing. And a lot of this came from, this type of teachings from Are You the One for Me? Because
I know. And just to add a little thing, when we were phone courting in the beginning, one of the things that really connected, when you first meet someone, you're like, well, what do you have in common? What do you connect? We were blown away by, we had read many of the same books. So we were on the same path of seeking and identifying and living, having the best relationship possible. Because we were reading the same books. You want to find out about someone, look at their library.
Well, let me ask this too. And I'll close with this on this book. if you're in a relationship and you can't figure out why, you're constantly fighting, you're constantly disappointed, you're constantly hurt, you're constantly feeling disrespected, you're not getting answers. You need to find out what's going on. And this is the book that helps you to have a strategy, a plan, and an outline regards to why, how, and what can I do about it? Is it salvageable? That's why, are you the one for me? Just because you love somebody in your paradigm of love, right? And yet you go into everyday application of that relationship of doing things together and you have no connection whatsoever and you're constantly frustrated. And that's because it's a bad fit. And you didn't understand that because you never understood that there was supposed to be a fit in the first place. There was supposed to be this compatibility, this connection, combination. We just hear these words, right? We see this in Hollywood movies, we see it on TV, but yet nobody goes, how do you get this?
The how. It's not enough to know the what. Today we need to know the how. And I think that's what she puts together so well.
Yep.
You know, and you might think it's, oh, that's kind of, you know, it's just, I'll feel it. You know, well, you can't trust your feelings if you're ending up in that same loop of the bad relationship. I know one of the things that really stood out for me, and I don't know if this was a result of her book or if I had done it before and read something else, but it was the fundamental of putting down what are the things that I absolutely, they are non-negotiable, have to have with my significant other. You know, for some people it might be looks. Some people, you know, money. Some people, money is not there. It's other things. You know, they can't have kids. They must have kids. This religion, that. But there needs to be a clear delineation of these are the non-negotiables that I need, because no one's perfect. No relationship. You know, you work on it and you make it a meld of two imperfect human beings for the most perfect relationship. But there's got to be that non-negotiable. And for me, I think once you see that, then you are going to filter out those possible negative relationships if those fundamental items are not on that list with that person. And then there's the, you know, would be nice. So the other side is, well, it would be nice if they were rich. Well, it would be nice if, you know, yada, yada. But the non-negotiable, critical. Yeah, critical.
Yep. Okay. I don't want to keep on taking more time on that.
Yes.
But, you know, I definitely recommend every book that we're recommending, that we're talking about here in this podcast, in this Cat's Home Chat, we both recommend for you to go check out. Even if you go download a sample chapter, Kindle is probably one of the most affordable way to download books. And just here's a little tip for all you folks who don't like to read or don't have the time, as you say. Get it on Kindle, put it on Alexa, and then have Alexa read it to you. Just put on your headphones.
I love that. You got to show me how to do that because I need to do that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those old-fashioned, you know, I like to read, I like to highlight, I like to underline, and I like to reread. But yeah, I definitely want to look into that. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff. We're going to, you know, stay to our 30-minute. We have about 7 minutes. So Jeff, pick out a book out of yours, and, you know, we'll just go down here until we hit the 30-minute mark.
I'm going to give you my book, and then I'm just going to read through my list and then just kind of give you a brief 1 minute or less than 1 minute. But one of the key books that I definitely say that has impacted me is this one, The Tao of Jeet. Okay. And this is Bruce Lee's finest moment, in my opinion. And let me just share with you, for the folks that don't know, everybody thinks Bruce Lee is an actor, a martial arts specialist, and died tragically, whatnot, in 1973.
Can you hold that up again? Because I'm writing it in here, so I can spell it right.
So it's Tao of Jeet.
Okay.
Tao is meaning, it's meaning of the way, like the Tao, the system, the way, right? Yeah. The Tao of Jeet. Jeet is actually, as described in translation, is the way of intercepting fists, Jitren Dao. And it's a defensive move. It's an action that to couple with the reaction of something. Okay. But here's something that most people don't know. Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco, came back to America when he was 18 years old, went to University of Washington, and was majoring in philosophy while he was teaching Kung Fu. And when he got injured, he was laid up for almost 6 months in a hospital bed in traction and whatnot. And this is where him and his wife, Linda, compiled his knowledge into pages. And then it was literally after Bruce's passing that they compiled this into a book. While I got this book, first time I got this book, I was a teen. And I thought it was just a martial arts book. As I got older and started reading this more and more, and I've owned probably 6, 7 different copies of this book in my lifetime, it started to really open up the philosophical point of what we are, who we are as human beings, as an artist, expressing individuality. Hence the be like water, my friend. We know that, if we put in a cup, it becomes a cup, put in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. It could crash or it could soothe, all these things that Bruce Lee has, these little wisdom. What he has done is kind of put it in perspective of self and what self is when it execute the best of self in expression. Stop the classical mess. Bruce Lee created the Jeet Kune Do because he felt that all this dancing around and so forth wasn't serving the combat. So he was a purist when it comes down to looking at something and saying, what is the immediate best end result? Opposed to, this is the crane technique, so we need to go step 1, step 2, step 3, what may be. So he broke that paradigm as well. This is a book that I've said to everybody who is my friends that is Asian descent. I've said every Asian man in the world should read this book. The reason behind it is because there's a lot of Chinese philosophy that goes into it. So that itself should be read. But I believe everybody on the planet should have an opportunity to at least skim through the book. There is a lot of so-called quotes and thoughts that came from Bruce Lee that will make you sit and think for a half hour easily. I created actually a couple of videos using Bruce Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune Do philosophy on improvisation in music, because it's about, again, the integrity of self-expression in the moment, being the artist. It is an extremely dense and rich book. Okay, so that's Bruce Lee. The last one of my top 5 was The Secret Teaching of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. Manly P. Hall is the founder of Philosophical Research Society in Las Vegas. If you go into this place, it will blow your mind. There are scriptures that was hand-painted by monks from the 14th century on the wall. There are books that you could never find anywhere in a so-called bookstore, but it's at Philosophical Research Society. And just the book itself, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, it taught me everything from alchemy to the Kabbalah, the Illuminati. Everything is in this. It's unbelievable how much research went into this book. So it's called The Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Okay, let me put that in.
So I'm going to wrap up the book.
Talk a little bit about the Celestine prophecy.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. So the last 5, these are just going to say that I read these books and it made such an impact. It opened up the door and went somewhere with it. The first one was, my friend told me, hey, you got to check out the Celestine prophecy. While it was a fiction book, it opened up my point of view quite a bit about the energy. So I definitely recommend that. It's by James Redfield. It was a bestseller for a long time on New York Times. The second one.
So that's a fiction? Because I have that book, but I haven't read it.
Yeah, The Celestine Prophecy and The Ninth Insights, both are fiction books, but it resonates deeply. And we all know at this point, sometimes fiction books are actually fact, non-fictions. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. Yep. I can't begin to tell you how the 1 minute series are so important to set up your ideas and strategy and your paradigm to our business, to our applications of self-reliance and efficiency. And these are the keys that you don't get taught in school unless you go to business school. But what's great about 1 Minute Manager series and 1 minute series with the sales manager and sales and all that, there's different type of on that series that is just a quick read. It's a real thin book, so you can get you the information really quick. Okay, so the third on this is the guitar book, The Handbook for the Electric Acoustic Guitarist. This is by Tom Wheeler. This is a book that I bought when I was in high school. Read it cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover. It just kept on reading it. Did a book report on Gibson and Fender guitars. It turned out to be a 20-page report. Teacher didn't even read it. just looked at it and just went, oh, okay, you know what you're talking about. It was everything that I've ever learned that opened up the door of not to be afraid of your instrument. Let's take it apart. It's a piece of wood. So, the next book is actually a somewhat of a tragedy. It's called Ghostwriter by Neil Peart, the drummer for the band Rush. This is him when he lost his daughter, lost his wife within 6 month period. And he took a hiatus from the band, didn't know if he was going to return to music, and took a motorcycle ride across North America and South America for 2.5 years. And just chronologically talked about his mindset, his journey, his pain, his sufferings, as well as his adventures. And it was extremely enlightening to know that someone as great that we revere as a musician has such delicate insights in regards to when you lose someone so dear to you, how do you deal with tragedy? How do you deal with the void? And that is a recommended read for anybody who's lost somebody precious, as well as all Rush fans should read this. My last one is a book that is just personal to me, and it has just changed my life over and over. It's called Open to Channel, How to Connect with Your Guide by Sanaya Roman. I read this book in 1996 and understood that our pineal gland in our brain has the capacity to receive energy, frequency, with information encoded on it that can enlighten our knowledge base. I didn't know this exists. They don't teach us this. Once I got involved with this, I started to change my life, and I met Kat. Here's a side note, mind-blowing. First time I met Kat's mom, this book was on her bookshelf. How about that? So with that being said, these are books that changed my life greatly. I always recommend these books for folks who say, what's a good read? These are great reads. These are great reads, even if you feel you're perfect in life, because you know what? There's no such thing as perfect. They're just great, enriched, and you could always use another tool in the bag to go, I want my life to be a little bit more this. And these books offer that. So that's my top 10.
All right. Thank you for
Books
sharing.
that
I
change
listed
lives.
them all here, so let me get through the rest of mine. Mine will be very quick.
Yep.
I'll leave this one for last because we are going to give a book away, so stay tuned. You're going to have to do something to win this book. I happen to have two. Conversations with God. You want to write these down as I'm saying them? I did those for you. Conversations with God. Can you not write that in there? No.
Oh, no, hang on.
Okay.
You got, okay. I'm doing something.
Conversations with God. I read this 30 years ago. It actually was my savior, my personal savior, when I was bicycling through Europe, 5 countries, had a root canal in Switzerland, just a ton of stuff that happened. And this book was my savior. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's very unique. I think it brings a kind of a personal connection to God. The writing format, as he is author, is just having a conversation with him. That's how he wrote the book. So if you haven't picked that up, it's a great book. It's one that I've shared with other people, and I'm out of copy now. I need to get another copy because I'm one of those that rereads passages. Because you'll find that you might have read it a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. You pick it up again, and it has a whole new enlightenment to you because you're in a different place. So, Conversations with God, Hidden Messages in Water by Dr. Emoto. I have shared this one with many people as well. It's a small book. It's mind-blowing. Again, back to the affirmation and confirmation of the power of our thoughts. No longer is it just woo-woo. Oh, you can manifest, you can make things happen with your thoughts. Emoto actually has scientific photographs of energizing water with positive thoughts and de-energizing water with negative thoughts. And the photos are incredible. Obviously, the positive is the beautiful snowflake-like creations, perfectly formed, and the negative is something really murk and dark and ugly. To me, that's just, it's mind blowing. I'm one of those that I love it when they marry science with metaphysics. And I'm going to end with a quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who does just that very well. I watch him on the Gaia channel and I do his meditations. And although I have not read a book of his yet, I'm ordering one that I can listen to on Kindle. But before that, prior to Dr. Joe Dispenza, The Ecstasy of Surrender by Judith Orloff. The Ecstasy of Surrender. The message comes through again with many of these books, and what it really kind of opened up my eyes with the one that I can't pronounce it, Dao Shikundo, and that is to flow, to be like water. And it's the same concept, but Judith puts it in very pragmatic stories. If we would just remember, yes, on top of thoughts become things, to surrender to the now, surrender to the moment. It will give us and gives me so much peace to do that, to remind myself that the now is the now, and to be fluid, to the next thing you should say, do, or be will unfold when you release that energy instead of constrict that energy. So The Ecstasy of Surrender. It's not on this list, but I'm reading it now. It's No Matter What. Why can't I think of the author? She was in The Secret. Did I grab the book over here? No. No Matter What, Lisa Nichols. Okay. 9 Steps to Living the Life That You Love. It talks about everything and gives you actually steps for anyone who, really wants to change their life and is stuck in old paradigms, whether it's relationship or business or with your kids or finance. She touches on it all, very pragmatic. And this gal came from nothing in LA, very impoverished. She did have the benefit of having very loving parents, but she went through a lot of trauma. So she comes from having lived it, and talks about how you can build up your no matter what muscles, build up your truth muscles, build up your do it now muscles. Very pragmatic and practical steps on how to do that. So I'm going to end with a quote by Dr. Dispenza. He's the one I mentioned that marries science with metaphysics. It's no longer, as he talks about, it's no longer enough to know. It's time that we know how. And he explains and shows, they've done hundreds of thousands of tests on the brain to actually show how the brain will dance in unison when we raise our energy and connect our head with our heart. It physically changes in these tests that he does. All the more proof to show that our thoughts become things and that we can direct and redirect our destiny. Becoming Supernatural. That's his latest book. You can get it on Kindle. How common people are doing the uncommon. When the mystery of the self is unveiled, we can wake up to the understanding that we are not linear beings living a linear life, but instead dimensional beings living dimensional lives. The beauty behind the infinite probabilities that await us is that the only way we can change those those futures is to change ourselves in the present infinite moment. Grasp onto that, the present infinite moment. So that leads me to the last book that I'm giving away, which is The Power of Now, which is really all about, again, put in other words, the present infinite moment. And Eckhart Tolle goes about to show us and share with us how to be present in the moment. We are all inundated with so much distraction, so much outside infiltration, so much chatter going on inside, so much judgment. And he, again, takes you through practical steps on how to be in the present moment, the power of the now. So I happen to have 2 of these on my bookshelf. I would love to give this away. I was trying to figure out how to do that. So I'm going to share my email. The first one to email me, and all you have to do is put in the topic, the power of now. And my email, and if you could put that on there, Jeff, is tadabykat@gmail.com. TADABYKAT@gmail.com. And as a bonus, I'll give a second book away for the first one to email me at livingthedream.cat@gmail.com. I've got 2, guys. And I'd love to share them with you. The power of reading is just opens up your world to so much. And we apologize we're at 41 minutes, so we're not too far ahead or too far long. I hope you enjoyed this. Pick up a book. You'll be glad you did. Pick up a book or plug into a Kindle and have Alexa read it to you, whether you're when you're driving or on your headset or what have you. And as always, stay hopeful, stay positive, stay connected, and stay reading. Pick up a book and read. Thanks so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. And we love you. And it's love much. Love you, Peter. We love you. Bye, Jeff.
Goodbye.